You think ArchNemesis is just okay when it comes to currency drops? Well, think again. Hello Exile, you're watching Altek2k Gaming. In this one I'm going to show you my strategy on how to get ridiculous currency from ArchNemesis. Let's begin. On the face of it, ArchNemesis doesn't look that complicated. Find one of these statues, stick something in it, and a boss pops out. Kill it and it drops whatever was on the mods. Which is all very well and good, and it doesn't drop a great deal, but you can get a lot of early uniques. It's really good for solo self-found. But that's just the surface of ArchNemesis. The actual league is built on a recipe system that goes several layers deep. Just a couple of things I wish I knew before starting. 1. The hash key opens the inventory for this league mechanic. I really couldn't work this out, someone in Discord told me. Number 2. You cannot do incomplete recipes. You can put something at the end of a recipe, and you can do a recipe and then a recipe, but you can't do half a recipe and then a different recipe, because that will just not work. Also, when you're doing a recipe, it must be contiguous. So each part of your recipe must be one after another. So they must be in a block, and it must be the first thing you roll. If you do a full one made up of 2 components, you can do another full one made up of 2 components. Didn't expect that at all, but that's how it seems to work. So when I started dabbling into this recipe system, I looked at the list from PoDB, which basically lists every recipe and how it's made up. This was linked to me by someone in Discord called Tigrem, and it really didn't work for me, because every time I got to an altar, I had to look up my recipe components to see what it made, and see whether that was good or whether I should hold on for a different recipe. So I decided, knowing a little bit about UML, I would diagram the whole thing, which resulted in this monstrosity which is unreadable. But it shows you the scale of all of the base components, which are those green boxes. So then I decided, we've got to simplify this, I've got to focus on one thing I want, because I'm going to run out of tab space for one. So I then started looking at what would give me the most currency, because I'm not one for selling stuff. I get bored really easy, and it just sits in my stash tab making me no money. So I wanted raw currency from this one. So the first thing I looked at was Innocence Touched. This gives you 3 currency drops and makes sure that everything else you drop is currency. Now that sounded amazing, because everything I would drop from these things would be currency, and if you link that with something like the Brine King, it would re-roll that currency 6 times and add 3 pieces of currency. So you'd have a really high chance of dropping Chaos or above. So I diagrammed that, and it was like, whoa, that's far too much. So I dropped Brine King and came up with the much simpler Innocence, as you can see. Yeah, that's not going to work either. When you add up all of the components and the number of maps it would take, assuming you had all of them, it's somewhere between 25 and 28 maps, just to construct the recipes that you would then use. And the recipes you would use are the grey ones. So I then decided, let's simplify it again. Let's look for something that's only 1 mod deep, so it's probably only 4 or 5 maps to get what I need. And this resulted in all these currency explosions that you're seeing behind me now. There's just so many of them. So then I came up with this much simpler recipe. Assassin is the base, which gives us 2 currency drops. Doesn't guarantee anything else but 2 currency drops, which is good. It's a good start. 1 less than Innocence. Doesn't give us everything after it. And then I decided I was going to try out Treant Horde. Now Treant Horde is the most complicated piece, requiring 3 different bases. And what it does, it converts all of the minions that normally stand around the altars, and there's normally 4 or 5, maybe slightly more. And it turns those into more powerful ones that all each drop their own drop. So that sort of multiplies the currency by 4 or 5, or even 6 in some cases. Which is the biggest thing in the whole recipe system as far as I can see, for getting more and more items drop. Thirdly, we go with Rejuvenating. Now I've tried swapping the last 2 over, and Rejuvenating definitely seems to give me the better drops of currency. So what does Rejuvenating actually do? It gives us 1 more currency to drop from the minions, but also re-rolls each drop twice, keeping the better result. So say it rolled twice, it got a Transmute and a Chaos. It's going to give you the Chaos. But this also goes up to Exalt. And then on top of that, we use Mirror Image. That basically does the same thing again. Adds Scarabs, but re-rolls twice. So we re-roll a total of 3 times. And keep the best currency. And just behind me here, I'm showing you the currency that I dropped from a single map. That's a little obscene. So I've run this particular recipe 5 times now throughout the league, which isn't a lot, but it takes a long time to get the actual ingredients because so many different drop. Now I do keep a couple of bases around that I don't use in my recipes, just to run them while I'm actually collecting other currency, because there's so much that drops. It's really hard to just get the 8 I want. And just counting Exalted Orbs and Chaos, I've had 2 Exalts and 27 Chaos, just off the League Mechanic, excluding everything else from the map. And along with that, a load of Fusings, a load of Jewelers, and also a load of Chisels. It really is well worth running this League Mechanic in this way. Now just to note on the monsters, when you look at them you can actually see what they are. I tend to avoid anything that looks like the big bat things on the cathedral roof that fire those big red balls at you. And I also try and avoid bears. They're okay as like your first 2, but once it gets to the 4th one, the slams from these things really are lethal. Try and run those first, not last. You do not want to get to your 4th one and either have it just kill you repeatedly till you run out of portals, or also build it so strong that you can't actually kill it. And I've had some that are really touch and go in that area, so do be careful. Now I've got a feeling this is a little overtuned, but again, it is spread out over multiple maps, so maybe it's not too bad and maybe it won't get nerfed, but it could, so try it out while you still can. And I hope you found this useful, and I hope you get lots of currency from it. Let me know how you do in the comments below. If you've liked this video, then please tickle that like button. It'll like it more than Exalted Orbs. No, it won't. It likes Exalted Orbs. And with that, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.